There is a moment every man has felt at least once in his life, but almost nobody talks about it. A moment where the air shifts, where silence becomes charged, where a woman looks at you in a way that feels almost like an invitation, but you don't know what the next step is. You feel something subtle but powerful, something real, something human, and yet you hesitate because you know that one wrong word can close the door and one right word can open a connection capable of pulling her closer than you expected. Most men underestimate how deeply words affect attraction. They think women fall for looks, status, or confidence alone, but here is the truth. A woman's mind is a world, a universe, a landscape filled with meanings, memories, desires, fears, and hopes that she rarely shows openly. And when a man asks the right question, the kind that bypasses her surface and touches her deeper layers, everything changes. Her eyes warm, her tone softens, her guard drops just slightly, just enough for you to see something real behind the version she shows the world. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And when you ask a question that touches something real, her reaction is not just about the words. It is about how she feels when she speaks them. And that feeling is what creates connection. Before we go deeper, I want you to pause for a second and ask yourself something honestly. How many times have you been in that exact moment and let it pass? How many times did you feel that spark and then default to small talk that went nowhere? If you've ever felt that frustration, you're not alone. And if you want to finally understand how to turn those moments into real connection, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me until the end. Also, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's the one thing you struggle with most when talking to women? Your answer might help someone else, too. Let's talk about something most men get completely wrong. They believe attraction is about performance, saying the perfect line, acting confident, trying to impress. But real attraction doesn't grow from performance. It grows from presence, from curiosity, from emotional awareness, from the ability to make a woman feel something genuine, not something rehearsed. Think about it this way. Have you ever had a conversation with someone who made you feel truly seen? Not judged, not analyzed, not impressed by you, but genuinely interested in who you are beneath the surface. That feeling stays with you. It lingers. It makes you want to talk to that person again. That is exactly what you're going to learn how to create, because here's the deeper truth. Women don't open up based on logic. They open up based on emotional safety and stimulation happening at the same time. It's a balance. Too safe, and the conversation feels boring. Too stimulating, and it feels overwhelming or performative. But when you combine calm presence with meaningful curiosity, something powerful happens. She begins to relax and lean in at the same time. And this is where most men miss the opportunity. They ask predictable questions. What do you do? Where are you from? What are your hobbies? These questions are not wrong, but they are emotionally flat. They don't invite her to feel anything. They don't create curiosity. They don't unlock depth. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you ask questions that invite deeper thought, you are inviting her to dye her thoughts in a different color. And that color becomes associated with you. So today, we're going to change that. You're going to learn 6 questions that women genuinely love answering. Not because they're clever, not because they're manipulative, but because they tap into something deeper inside her. Her imagination, her identity, her emotions, her inner world. And as we go through each one, I want you to imagine yourself actually using it. Picture the moment. Picture her reaction. Picture the shift in energy. Because this isn't theory. This is something you can apply immediately. Let's begin. There's a man named Daniel who once shared a story during a coaching session. He told me he always felt like conversations with women started strong but faded quickly. He would get initial interest, but within minutes things became dry. One day, instead of asking the usual questions, he tried something different. He asked, "What's something you've always wanted to try but never have?" He said the change was immediate. The woman paused, not awkwardly but thoughtfully. Her expression softened, and then she smiled in a way he hadn't seen before. This is the first question. What's something you've always wanted to try but never have? This question works because it activates imagination. It pulls her out of routine thinking and into possibility. Psychologically, human beings are wired to feel excitement when imagining future experiences, but women in particular often engage more deeply with emotional imagination. They don't just think about the idea, they feel it. When you ask this, you're not just making conversation, you're giving her permission to explore a version of herself that hasn't been fully expressed. Maybe she says she wants to travel alone to another country. That's not just about travel, that's about independence, courage, and self-discovery. Maybe she says she wants to start a business. That's not just about money, that's about purpose, identity, and control over her life. Or maybe she shares something smaller, like trying dance classes or learning a new skill. Even then, there's emotion behind it. Curiosity, growth, a desire to expand. Here's where it gets powerful. When she begins imagining that experience while talking to you, her brain releases positive emotional signals, and without realizing it, she starts associating that feeling with your presence. This is a form of emotional anchoring. Epictetus taught, "No great thing is created suddenly." And the connection you build with this question is not created suddenly. It is built through the moment of shared imagination. And as she imagines, she feels. And as she feels, she connects. And that connection is what creates attraction. Now, here's your role. Don't interrupt. Don't jump in with your own story too quickly. Stay present. Ask a gentle follow-up like, "What's stopping you from trying it?" Or "What do you think it would feel like if you did?" These follow-ups deepen the moment. They show that you're not just asking, you're listening. And let me give you a practical exercise you can try today. The next time you're in a conversation, ask this question. Then focus on one thing only, your presence. Maintain eye contact, nod occasionally. Let silence exist without rushing to fill it. You'll notice something interesting. The more comfortable you are with silence, the more she will open up. Because silence, when held with confidence, feels safe, not awkward. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." When you can sit in the silence without anxiously depending on her next word, you create the space for her to feel safe enough to open up. And that safety is what makes her want to share more. Now, let's move to the second question. What's the most meaningful part of your day? This question might sound simple, but it does something most questions don't. It shifts the conversation from external details to internal experience. Most people ask, "How was your day?" And what do they get? Good, busy, fine. Surface-level answers. But when you ask what was meaningful, you're asking her to reflect, to scan her day and identify what actually mattered. And that's rare. I remember a woman named Sophia who once said, "I can go weeks without anyone asking me what actually matters to me." Think about that. Weeks. So when you ask this, you immediately stand out. Her answer might surprise you. It might not be something big. It could be a quiet moment drinking coffee alone in the morning, finally feeling calm before the day started. It could be a small win, finishing something she had been procrastinating on. It could be connection, laughing with a friend, or having a meaningful conversation with someone. Whatever she shares, she's giving you insight into what nourishes her emotionally. And here's the psychological shift. When people talk about meaningful experiences, they naturally slow down. Their tone softens. Their body language relaxes. They become more open. You're no longer just two people exchanging words. You're sharing a moment of reflection, and that creates emotional intimacy. Here's something you can do to deepen this even further. After she answers, validate the feeling. Not by agreeing, but by acknowledging. For example, you might say, "That sounds peaceful," or "I can tell that really matters to you." Simple, calm, genuine. No exaggeration, no overreaction. This kind of response builds trust, and trust is the foundation of attraction that lasts beyond the first impression. Now, I want you to think about something. How often do you actually ask questions that make someone feel understood? Not impressed, not entertained, understood. Because that's the difference between a conversation she forgets and one she remembers. In the next part, we're going to go deeper. We'll explore the questions that reveal her emotional preferences, her hidden strengths, what truly relaxes her, and how she sees her future. And more importantly, I'll show you how to use them in a way that feels natural, not forced. Because the goal here is not to perform better, it's to connect better. Now, let's continue, because this is where things start to become even more revealing. Not just about her, but about how she begins to see you. There's something subtle that happens in conversations that most people never notice. It's not about what's said on the surface, it's about what's being revealed underneath. And the next question taps directly into that layer. What kind of people do you feel most comfortable around? At first glance, this seems like a simple question, but psychologically it's much deeper than that. When someone describes the kind of people they feel comfortable with, they are actually describing the emotional environment they need to feel safe, open, and fully themselves. And here's the key insight. People don't just describe others in these moments. They describe their unmet needs, their past experiences, and their emotional patterns. Let me give you a real-life example. A man named Kevin once asked this question during a casual coffee date. The woman he was talking to paused and said, "Honestly, I feel most comfortable around people who are calm and don't feel the need to prove anything." Now, on the surface, that sounds like a simple preference, but Kevin understood something deeper. That answer likely came from past experiences with people who were chaotic, loud, or constantly seeking validation. So, instead of responding with something generic, he simply said, "That makes sense. It's rare to feel that kind of calm around someone." Her reaction? Immediate softness. She leaned in slightly and said, "Exactly." That moment created alignment, because here's what's happening beneath the surface. As she describes those traits, her mind is quietly asking, does he feel like that? And if your presence matches even part of what she describes, she begins to associate you with comfort, and comfort is powerful. There's a common misconception that attraction is built on excitement alone, but excitement without comfort creates tension. Comfort without excitement creates boredom. The magic happens when both exist together. This question helps you establish the comfort side of that equation almost instantly. Now, here's how you can use it effectively. When she answers, don't rush to prove that you have those qualities. Let her feel them through your presence. Stay grounded, stay calm. Let your energy speak louder than your words. And if you want to deepen the conversation, you can gently ask, what makes you feel that way around them? This invites her to explore the feeling even more. And the more she explores that feeling with you, the more she associates you with it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you can stay calm and grounded, you are exercising that power, and she will feel it. She will sense that you are different from the men who are anxious, who are trying to impress, who are seeking validation. And that difference is what makes her want to be close to you. Now, let's move to the next question. And this is where the conversation becomes truly meaningful. What's something about yourself you're proud of but rarely talk about? This question opens a door that most people never even knock on, because here's the reality. Many women are not used to being asked about their strengths in a way that feels safe and sincere. They're often careful about how they present their achievements, their resilience, their personal growth. There's a quiet hesitation. Will this come across as too much? Will I be judged? So, when you ask this question, you're doing something rare. You're giving her permission. Permission to speak about something meaningful. Permission to be seen beyond the surface. Permission to share a part of herself that doesn't usually get attention. I remember a story from a woman named Elena. She said a man once asked her this question, and for a moment, she didn't know how to respond. Not because she had nothing to say, but because no one had ever asked her that before. Eventually, she shared that she was proud of how she had rebuilt her life after a difficult breakup. She talked about therapy, self-growth, and learning to be emotionally independent. And as she spoke, something shifted. She wasn't just talking, she was reliving that strength. And the man didn't interrupt. He didn't try to match her story. He simply listened and said, "That takes a lot of strength." That was enough. She later said that moment stayed with her longer than any compliment she had ever received, because it wasn't about flattery, it was about recognition. Here's the psychological truth behind this. When someone shares something they're proud of, especially something they rarely talk about, they become emotionally invested in the moment. Their guard lowers, their authenticity increases, and if you respond with presence and sincerity, you become associated with that feeling of being seen. Now, here's something important. Don't turn this into an interview. Don't stack questions one after another. Let the conversation breathe. Let moments expand naturally, because depth doesn't come from how many questions you ask. It comes from how you hold the space after the question. Now, let's move into something softer but equally powerful. What's something that instantly relaxes you or brings you peace? This question shifts the emotional tone of the conversation. Up until now, you've explored her imagination, her values, her preferences, her strengths. Now, you're stepping into her emotional sanctuary. And this is important because in today's world, many women are constantly navigating stress, work, social expectations, responsibilities, internal pressure. Peace is not just a preference, it's a necessity. When you ask this question, you're inviting her into a calmer emotional state. And here's what's fascinating. When someone talks about something that relaxes them, their body often begins to mirror that feeling. Their voice slows down, their breathing softens, their expression becomes more gentle. This is not just emotional, it's neurological. So, if she talks about walking in nature, listening to music, journaling, or even something as simple as being alone in silence, she's not just describing peace, she's feeling it. And because you're the one guiding that moment, her brain begins to associate that calmness with you. Let me say that again, because it matters. She associates that calmness with you. This is why presence is so powerful. You're not creating attraction by force. You're allowing it to form naturally through emotional experience. Here's a small technique you can use. After she answers, you can say something like, "That sounds really grounding," or "I can see why that brings you peace." Keep your tone slow, calm, almost reflective. You're matching the emotional state she's in. And when two people share the same emotional rhythm, connection deepens without effort. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters, and how you react to her answer matters more than the question itself." When you respond with calm acknowledgement, you are reinforcing the safety she feels, and that safety is what opens the door to deeper connection. Now we come to the final question, and in many ways, this is the most powerful of all. What's something you're really looking forward to in the future? This question does something profound. It moves her from the present into her vision of what's ahead, her hopes, her direction, her sense of becoming. And people love talking about this, not because it's impressive, but because it's personal. When someone speaks about what they're looking forward to, they reveal what drives them. It might be something tangible like a career goal, travel plans, or a project they're excited about. Or it might be something emotional, finding balance, building meaningful relationships, becoming more confident, feeling at peace within themselves. Whatever it is, it reflects her internal compass. And here's where it becomes powerful in a relational sense. As she shares her vision, her mind naturally starts to place people within that future. It's not something she does consciously, it's instinctive. And if in that moment you are present, attentive, and aligned with her energy, she begins to feel that you could belong in that space. Not because you said anything impressive, but because you understood. Let me give you a subtle but important shift. Instead of responding with your own plans immediately, try asking, "What excites you most about that?" Or, "What do you think it will feel like when you get there?" These follow-ups bring her deeper into the emotion of her future. And the deeper she goes into that feeling while talking to you, the stronger the connection becomes. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." When you ask her about her future, you are inviting her to enjoy the present moment of imagining it. And that present moment is shared with you. That is what creates connection. Now, take a step back and look at what you've just learned. These 6 questions are not about technique. They're not about control. They're not about trying to win someone over. They are about creating space. Space for her to think, to feel, to express, to be seen. And in that space, something natural happens. Connection. Real connection is not built through performance. It's built through presence, curiosity, and emotional awareness. A man who understands this doesn't chase attention. He creates experiences. He becomes someone people remember. Not because he tried to impress, but because he made others feel something real. So, here's what I want you to do next. Don't try to use all 6 questions at once. Choose one, just one, and use it in your next conversation. Pay attention to the shift, the pause, the way she responds, and most importantly, pay attention to yourself. Are you present? Are you listening? Or are you waiting for your turn to speak? Because the quality of your presence will always matter more than the words you choose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you cultivate thoughts of curiosity and presence, your soul reflects that, and she will feel it. She will sense that you are different. And that difference is what makes you unforgettable. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these questions stood out to you the most? Which one do you feel you could use naturally? And what's one thing you've learned about connection that you didn't realize before? Share it in the comments. Your experience might resonate with someone else more than you think. If this conversation gave you a new perspective, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who could benefit from it. And remember this, a strong man doesn't force connection. He creates the conditions where it can grow. And once it does, it doesn't need to be chased. It chooses to stay. Epictetus taught, "No great thing is created suddenly." And the connection you build through these questions is not created suddenly. It is built through the accumulation of moments where you show her that you are present, curious, and safe. And as you build that connection, it becomes something real, something lasting, something that she will remember. Because in a world of superficial conversations, a man who asks real questions is a rare and precious thing. Be that man. Build that connection, and watch how everything changes.